The United States, the European Union, and other Western countries have implemented strong sanctions on Russia. But what exactly is the effect they're having? Brian Battle is the director at Performance Trust Capital Partners. He joins us now with more. Brian, thanks for being here. So this is a huge sanction package against Russia, but there is one thing the Biden administration still has not played, and that is the Russian oil, right? So many people calling for that. But does the average American think it's worth higher gas prices? I mean, what would that mean for the prices at the pump?
Yeah, so Russia's a pretty substantial oil and gas generator, but their market is more focused on Europe. So the effects are going to be way more pronounced in Europe. However, as a non-OPEC member, Russian oil is in the world market. So if there's a diminished supply of Russian oil, that means prices will go higher. We're already feeling that here in the States. What is interesting is that what we've done effectively is kick the G20 member out of the world economy. So we've kicked Russia out. And so in the short term, it's probably the right thing to do, right? They're being proactive, they're invading a different country, that's all great. But the knock-on effects to the world economy are, as you described, higher oil prices, more difficulty getting gas in Western Europe. They are a rare earth metal producer, things like palladium, stuff that goes in computer chips and cars. They're a producer there. That's the obvious thing, and we're going to feel that price pressure around the world. What's not known is the secondary or the derivative effects of that is, well, who lent Russia money? Who does Russia owe money to? It's the domino of big banking, big finance interaction with Russia that we don't see yet, which would be the other shoe to drop. That hasn't happened yet. The sanctions are still new, but the Russian ruble is certainly diminishing. We're feeling it here in the States at higher prices, and certainly everyone's feeling it in their IRA and their stock account as the stock market has started to fluctuate and go down.
That's an excellent point, and one that we don't always think about. So we're so glad you're here to explain it to us. So do you think we're going to see the interest rate go up? What would that mean, if so, for the housing market and the rest of the economy here in the U.S.?
That is a great question, because in the United States, we're in a really funny spot here, because if you look at the economic statistics in the States, the economy is getting way better. We had a really good unemployment number on Friday. The Federal Reserve has raised their hand and said, after 10 years of holding rates low, we're going to start raising rates. And then the war started. So the Federal Reserve is going to raise rates a quarter of a point here in March and April. It's going to happen soon. It's a small number. It's really not that big of an effect, and nobody's going to be surprised. But interest rates, curiously, have gone down recently, because as there's global conflict and there's this uncertainty, money floods into the U.S. And when it does, money comes here to stay safe, it forces interest rates down. So you might get another chance to refinance your house. You might get a chance to lower the cost of financing on your home purchase, because the rates have gone down to a quarter of a point in the past week and a half. There's going to be some lag before that goes into mortgage rates. But here in the States, things are okay. We're talking about raising interest rates. The rest of the world wants to be here because it's safe.
And you talk about the things we haven't seen yet, right? The trickle-down effects for all of these different facets of what it means for our economy. So what do you anticipate happening in maybe not the immediate future, not the coming days, but maybe weeks and months?
Yeah, so that's a great question, because there's two things that everyone's going to feel. The first is, hey, the stocks in my retirement account are going down. So that is probably going to persist. There's going to be a lot of fluctuation in the stock market, because we don't know what the long-term effects are going to be. We don't know how long this war is going to last, and we don't know how aggressive Russia is going to be, because this could get really dark quickly. And so the stock market's going to react, and it's going to be super sensitive, probably go lower rather than go higher, because we don't know. But the stock market is not the economy. The U.S. economy is doing pretty well right now. We have a below 4% unemployment rate. Things are going well. The Federal Reserve is going to raise rates. So in the short term, I think it's a horrible thing to say. It's going to be better here than other places as far as the economy goes, but it is highly contingent on the magnitude and the duration of the conflict in the Ukraine, because if Russia gets more aggressive, or if the U.S. and the NATO allies get more involved, they're talking about we should have a no-fly zone. What that implies is a NATO plane shooting down Russian planes, and that describes a way bigger world conflict that will have unforeseen effects on the economy and the stock market. We hope it doesn't get there. We hope this ends faster than that, with maybe some sort of truce or some sort of deal worked out with Putin.
Everyone is hoping for that. Brian, thank you. We really appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Thanks for watching. Click the red subscribe button below so you can get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.